one of the adages at our house is one person can make a difference. And so I know my family, I'm always like, well, I could be that person. I could be that person. So stepping out and doing something. Every time we move, I tell everybody we're homeschooling. And I just say, we're homeschoolers, we're homeschooling. So just learn to be bold so that when it comes to something that's super important, you've already practiced. I homeschool, or whatever it is that you're afraid to tell somebody, just be bold and just state it. You're not having a fight. You're not having an argument. You're having a discussion, and this is who you are. You just present.
Welcome. It's the Colorado Homeschool Podcast, interviewing experts, parents, graduates, all here to help you navigate this incredible journey called homeschooling. And if you're looking for resources, tips, and help, go to check.org. You'll find what you need. In the meantime, subscribe. Follow along. Well, hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am your host, Kasia Davis, and we have a friend and maybe somebody that you already know because she's so involved in the homeschool community in Colorado. Barb and her husband, he's not going to be with us, but Barb West and her husband, Bruce, have been homeschooling for quite some time. In fact, they are pioneers, or what I would call pioneers, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But you probably know Barb in some other ways. She's got the fabulously interactive Facebook group, Homeschooling Colorado. She also runs a really cool sports program, Colorado Springs Homeschool League, Homeschool Sports League. Let me get it right. I love the program and everything that you told me about it, but every time I talk to Barb, I leave encouraged, I leave exhorted. I think she's got such a sweet heart, and I'm so excited that you're here with us today, Barb. Wait, let me tell about your family too. She's got 5 kids and 7 grandkids, which I have 4 grandkids of my own, and I will tell you, I call it parenting 2.0. So, Barb, I am so excited for what you're going to share with us today. Thank you for being here.
Well, Kasia, thank you for having me. I love meeting with you in person, so this is going to be a little bit different today, us being miles apart.
It is weird. Yes, we do have a good time when we meet in person. We met and we were immediately both said, we should do this again. Let's get together and make this a regular occurrence. So I love that when you meet that person that you just know. So yeah, I agree. It's a little weird, but okay. Well, Barb, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started in homeschooling? Because I already said that you were part of the pioneer movement. Well, at least the current, because some people would argue that homeschooling is the oldest form of education. But in our modern history, you were really part of that first wave that made it legal in the United States. So tell me what led to that for you.
Okay, but when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, I was living in Oklahoma and was in the military. I had 1 child. I was pregnant with my second, and I didn't want the first child, who'd been by herself for 3 years, to suddenly feel slighted. So I thought, well, I'll put her in preschool, and then I can spend some time with the new baby, and she'll be entertained. So I sent her to a Christian preschool that was attached to a church. It was a great program, loved it. But as it came time for her to get closer to kindergarten, I thought, I can't send her to public school, but I couldn't afford the private Christian school. So I thought, what am I going to do? There's only 2 options. And one Sunday, they did a weekend section. I had this woman who was teaching her children at home. I'd never heard of that. And so I contacted her and said, can I come to your house? She said, sure, come on out. So I drive out. She was about 30 minutes away. And she had a big box for each of her 3 children, big box. And she showed me in the boxes, and they were textbooks from 15 years before when I'd been in school. They were terrible. I thought, I didn't like them the first time I used them. I don't want to do this. And nothing encouraged me. I mean, she was a sweet woman. Her children were wonderful. But I thought, I can't do this. So I get back in my car, and I'm literally crying and beating on the steering wheel all the way back into town. And in the middle of this tantrum, the Lord said, go to the Enid Christian bookstore. Now, this is an old-fashioned country town, had this town square, and that's where the Christian bookstore was. So I go in, and I thought, well, they're not going to have anything on homeschooling. And they actually did. They had 3 books. One was Greg Harris, The Christian Homeschool. One was Better Late Than Early by Raymond and Dorothy Moore. And the third one was The Big Book of Home Learning by Mary Pride. Now, if you're familiar with that, it eventually morphed into 4 huge volumes. But I could only afford 1 book, so I bought the Mary Pride book. and went home, marked it up, highlighted, took notes. By the time my poor husband came home from work, he comes to the door and I said, "We're going to homeschool." And he's like, "Oh, no, you are an perfect Bruce style." He goes, "We are not locking our firstborn in a closet." I said, "Did I say we were going to lock her in a closet?" He said, "Well, no, but isn't that what homeschooling is?" And I said, "No." So over the next week, I I educated him on homeschooling as I was educating myself. Well, then I thought I can do this. Uh, there weren't a lot of curriculum. Everybody always says, "Well, what curriculum do you use?" And I think they mean a full curriculum that teaches every language arts, math, science, history. I mean, all of it. And at that point in time, there were not a lot of companies that sold to parents, sold to families. You had maybe A. Bethel, Bob Jones, Christian Liberty, Christian Life, but not a lot. So Mary Pride was going through there, and I found a program that was called Calvert, and they'd send it to missionaries, and they sent everything in the box. And I thought, oh, this is great. I mean, they sent me the yarn and the little safety scissors and the glue. And I thought, okay, I can't fail with this. So I got it. And we completed the entire year of kindergarten in 6 weeks. And I got so encouraged. I thought, I can do this. I can actually do this. And so from there, that launched me into what I do now. And at that time, there wasn't any Montessori style or Charlotte Mason or Waldorf. I mean, the only thing I knew was what I came out of, which was textbooks. And there was so much out there that I didn't know about. So after that first year when I had everything, then I became more of a Charlotte Mason, eclectic Montessori type homeschooler. And I've been that way the whole time. And I'm more loosey-goosey maybe. And I need to explain this because even though I am that way, my children did great. The ones that chose to go to college, and not all of them choose that, we encourage that, but it's their choice. The ones that do go on full scholarships because they do well on their ACT and their SAT and their entrance exams and their essays that they have to do. And they go to college, and I'm scared to death when they go because I'm thinking, oh, I miss so much. But they do fine. And then I did have one, my son chose to not do college, but go into the Marines. And he took the ASVAB test and scored so well that he could choose his career field before he signed on the dotted line. And he does so well that in 1 year, he got 3 promotions within a 12, 15-month time span. He's excelling. He's been in 4 years, and he's a staff sergeant. So anybody that knows about the military is going to be going, how did that happen? Well, homeschooling was a big part of that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so good. I was a Charlotte Mason type homeschool mom, and I would do it again, totally. And I love that you said that you were loosey-goosey because that is not my perspective, because it seems like you have a plan and you're working it. And that this is not what we're talking about today, but that is one of the things that I always tell people is there still is a commitment. You have a methodology on how you're teaching, but you still have a plan, and you still, sort of make your own syllabus at least, right? And figure out the end before.
Well, I have a start date to my school year. I circle that on the calendar so everybody knows when that is. And I have the end date circled. So we know that there is an ending. We will finish. It's not that we're going to go on and on and on forever. If we don't finish the books, that's okay. How many times does the brick and mortar school actually finish a book?
Right.
Well, a plan, my husband says a plan is something from which to deviate. And
that's a good, yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned that we were in the military, but my husband was in the military for 30 years. And every time we moved, it took me 3 months. I lost 3 months of my life getting ready on one end, packing up, and then we actually get to the new location and we unpack. I would lose 3 months. We moved almost 24 times. And if you can do the math on that, that means I lost 6 years of homeschooling, 6 full years, not taking summers off. So how was I able to educate my children with losing so much time? Well, it wasn't me that was doing the educating, and it was the Lord. So all those gaps, all those places where I wasn't getting something done, He was filling it in. And I have so many people who say, oh, I can't go on that field trip. We haven't finished this lesson, or we haven't done that. There's so much education that happens in life in general. And I'm a perfect example of that because all my children can read and write and do arithmetic. And you're probably thinking, oh, she has these children that have no learning disabilities. No, that's not true either. I have two that struggle immensely. Three of my children are adopted of the five that I have, which anyone that has adopted knows there's things and issues that come with that. So it was not smooth sailing. It was not like I had these brilliant children that I never had any issues with. Some of my biological children are extremely dyslexic. There's different types of dyslexia, and they have more than one. Executive functioning, ADD, ADHD. We struggle through a lot. So I'm telling you from experience, don't let the textbook or whatever curriculum you choose drive your homeschool. Allow more to be in the driver's seat. And with like Carrie Underwood's song, Jesus Take the Wheel, let go. Let God be really in control. And when there's a field trip, know that learning's going to happen. And so you can take off from your regularly scheduled programming and do that field trip. Go skiing. When they have the homeschool ski day, go skiing. You'll be amazed at what taking time off can do. And I have a story if you want me to share it.
Yeah. Well, I love everything that you're saying because I say the same thing over and over and over every week. I feel like it's a common fear. Homeschool moms think they're going to have gaps. What if they forget something? What if they teach them? And I go, you're going to. I mean, it's impossible to teach everything. No education program is doing that. You just want to teach your children how to learn. And yeah, so, you're so true. It's so good that you dove in and you got that courage from the beginning because you didn't have a role model. I mean, you found 3 books at the bookstore. That's crazy
And
awesome to me.
And also, before I tell the story, the Better Late Than Early by Raymond and Dorothy Moore is the #1 book that I recommend most often. I
Okay.
see so many comments or posts on my Homeschooling Colorado Facebook page, and people are saying, I've got this 3-year-old and they're brilliant and we want to do this. There's so much that they learn by playing. So just let them continue how they're learning and not force this rigid academics onto them. Um, the Better Late Than Early, there's also people that say, my child's not reading and they're 8 years old. I'm just like, it's okay. I had one that didn't read fluently until she was 14 years old. 14. And those of you that are in church or you're teaching Sunday school or youth group, please, if a parent says, don't ask my child to read, please don't ask that child to read. Because this child was constantly asked to read. She's very sweet. She's wonderful. And they were always asking to read, and she just couldn't do it. At 14, she came out and she said, hey, Mom, I just finished this book. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she read. But now that child speaks 5 languages, is married, had 5 children, owns and operates a school that teaches English in a closed country. That's what she. And so do not just think, oh, my child's never going to get this. The Better Late Than Early, Raymond and Dorothy Moore say, don't teach reading till 9. And then what you spent years trying to get done, they're going to learn in a matter of maybe weeks or months. So just let go and let God. My other story was I was trying to teach borrowing and carrying to a 2nd grader. And she started crying and I started crying and it was October and I'm thinking, we are never going to make it. I just slammed the book shut and put him in a dark closet. And that was October. And then in January, I went, oh my gosh, we haven't done math. And when we were living, they gave the Stanford Achievement Test every year and you had to score in the 23rd percentile or you were in big trouble. So I pulled the books out. I laid them on the floor with everything. And I said, hey, get going on this. I'm going to go work with her younger sibling for a minute while you just look at this. Well, I came back and she'd done the lesson. Like, how could you do that lesson? You didn't know how to do it before. Well, she had all the building blocks. She just needed time to put them together, to put the puzzle together. I came back, she could do it. And I had not taught her for 4 months how to do it. She had all the pieces. So sometimes time, that's another commodity that homeschoolers like, oh, I'm so far behind. No, you're not. You're right where God wants you to be. And they think, oh, I don't have enough time. I'm going to have to homeschool all summer. I'm going to have to double up the lessons. Oh, we're just going to have to do this next year all the way through. No, just let it go and allow time to be your friend and not your enemy. And give your child's brain time to assimilate all that information. And thinking, I got to keep beating this in. The other one is the spotlight. They say, oh, they're having trouble over here. And they take that spotlight and they shine it where the child is having trouble. Well, you know what? That child starts thinking I can't do this. I'm never going to learn this. And that's not true. If you take the spotlight and shine it, where do they do best? Maybe it's art. Maybe it's they play the violin or the piano. Maybe it's they're good in sports. But highlight that and say, wow, you're so good at this. And you know what's going to happen? That confidence is going to bleed over into where they're having some issues and some trouble, and they're gradually going to get better. So don't shine the spotlight where they struggle. Shine it where they do well, and you're getting a big difference.
Barb, listen, we're going to get in trouble because I could talk to you for a lot longer than we've allocated. You have some great nuggets. I love it. I feel like every woman needs to have somebody that will be telling them things like this, that just encourage them and exhort them. I used to go to a homeschool support group when I was a homeschool mom in Parker. And there was this one mom, somebody would train and talk about this grade and how academically rigorous this program was. And another mom she'd just go, or not. And that or not spoke so much to me because we just put on so much pressure for ourselves unnecessarily. So, that was so good. And so I'm listening to you going, wow, you really developed some deep convictions and understanding of how children develop. And what your husband immediately which I think is hilarious. You said he said, well, we're not going to lock our kid in the closet. Like there was this stigma at the time that homeschooling was a neglectful thing, that you were just trying to lock your child away. So how did that play out? And so you started in Oklahoma, and obviously, was it already legal in Oklahoma?
Yes,
Because,
it was.
okay.
And then we
And
moved to
then,
Texas. It was legal in Texas.
okay.
And then we moved to South Dakota. In South Dakota, there were 3 things that were not the same between Oklahoma and Texas. One was that they had yearly testing with the Stanford Achievement Test, and you had to score in the 23rd percentile or above.
Okay.
You had to ask permission to homeschool, and then they would give you permission to homeschool at that time. And the third one, which is the one that was really a battle, was that the state designee from the Department of Education could enter your home anytime they wanted to, just because you were homeschooling.
Wow.
If you
Okay.
know the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, they are not allowed to do
Right.
that. But the state law in South Dakota said they could. So the State Department of Education was using that. And I got there, contacted HSLDA. I had one home visit. We lived there twice, but the first time we lived there for 7 years. And if you know the military, you do not stay any place for 7 years.
Right. That's unusual.
That in itself is a red flag. But we were there 7 years, and Chris Klicka was very helpful with me. I learned a lot. I learned that even though I didn't like that part of the law, if I tried to change the law at all, they would open up the entire law. And at that time, there were legislators who wanted to outlaw homeschooling completely. So Chris explained patiently, painstakingly, Barb, you have to slow down. You cannot change the law. And he explained that the state needed to come after a family on that one issue. And when they did, then we could open up the law and change it. So I had the bill ready. I had sponsors. Hopefully, they were still going to be in the legislative session if it ever happened. And I was ready to go. Well, this one year, a little dairy farming family with, 6 children or so that lived out on the prairie said no to a home visit. I'd been asking people, just say no, just say no. And this family finally did. And the state went after him, accused him of child abuse. I don't know why they didn't cave, but they didn't cave because they were threatening to take their kids, all kinds of stuff. So because of that, the state opened that part of the bill or that part of the law. So I was able to introduce the bill. Now, for me, to back up a little bit, when I had my first home visit, my husband, Bruce, and I, we made an appointment with the State Department of Education in Pierre, which is the capital of South Dakota. It was a 2.5-hour drive from our house. They happened to be in a different time zone, which means was a 3.5-hour thing I had to think about. So I would have to leave at 4:30 in the morning to get there by 8 o'clock if I had an appointment. So we did this. Superintendent stood us up, said, I'm too busy. So we weren't deterred. We made another appointment with him, went back, met with him. He said, I'll give you a waiver. Now that I've met you and I know you're intelligent and you know what you're doing, he goes, I'll give you a waiver. So we never had another home visit. But the rest of the state, the rest of the families did have a home visit. And that's why I wanted to change. Not just for me, I needed everybody to be out of this. And so we got it put into place, and it went to committee. In committee, two legislators left the room. Their aides came in, tapped them on the shoulder, and they left the room. We worked on the bill in committee, and so I wanted it to be, at the beginning, a no vote because I didn't like what they'd done, but now they changed it to the way I liked it. I wanted a yes vote. So they're calling for a vote. The two legislators who are against homeschooling come back in the room. They didn't want the bill reread, and that's key here. And so I had some homeschoolers at the back of the room. We had our hands lifted. We're praying. It's like the ceiling opened up. There were angels and clouds. It was amazing. They took the vote, voted yes. It passed. The room erupts. And these two legislators are going, what's going on? Because this was against homeschooling. And then the others on the committee, the other 5 people said, oh, no, we changed it while you were out of the room. And that's what, got rid of visits.
Wow.
And it's a miracle. And right after that, I mean, we're talking within days of that vote, my husband got orders and we left. So we were in that state for 7 years for that reason, I think. I mean, there's lots of things that happened while we were there, but we got the law changed. So there were no more home visits in the States.
I have goosebumps. I love that. It makes me think of, I say this all the time. I love the story of Esther in the Bible when Mordecai, her uncle, says to her, I don't know if you know this story, but for anybody who maybe doesn't, it's the Jewish, the Israelites, the Jewish nation, was going to be persecuted. There was an edict and they were going to be killed. And here's Esther, a Jewish woman who was hiding that she was Jewish, married to the prince. And at that time, if she would have gone to him, it could mean death without being summoned. So he came to her and said, you need to go to your husband, the prince, and plea for your people. So that was twofold. It was going to him and also pleading for the people. Anyways, Bible study here, sorry. But he says to her in her fear, hey, listen, God's going to save his people because how do you know, though, if you're not here for such a time as this? Like, he doesn't need us, but we have a chance to engage in the work that he put before us. And I say that all the time, especially in Colorado, where it is becoming increasingly hostile to families who are living by biblical values, and parental rights are being trampled and questioned and really pushed back on. I mean, literally, parents in Colorado have been compared to the KKK. It's unbelievable. But we're here for such a time as this. That is such a good story, Barb. I love that. That was good. So being that you lived that and then did you move internationally from South Dakota or North Dakota?
It was South Dakota. We went to Alabama for 12 months and then we went to Germany.
Okay.
And when we were moving to Germany, the base we were going, it was in Stuttgart, Germany, and the base commander there had decided that he was going to tell the homeschoolers what they could do. Well, I contacted Chris Klicka, and I said, hey, I've got this issue here. And Chris is just so patient again with me. He goes, Barb, just sit tight. I'll handle it. And he did. He apparently contacted the base commander and explained to the base commander that he could not write the law. When we're overseas, any homeschooler that's overseas in a military assignment in any way, or with the State Department, you do not have any law to follow. You are your own person, and you can do whatever you like. There's nothing to say how much math or language arts you have to do. There's nothing. No many hours, no days, nothing that you have to do. You are very self-governing, and I loved it. We lived overseas 4 times, and I got to govern myself the whole time I was over there, and I really liked that. I got to decide for myself and my children what we were going to do.
I love that. So it sounds like you were really engaged with HSLDA, and we always advocate for HSLDA. They're the national support for homeschooling and that legal defense. Obviously in Germany that didn't apply, but in the states that you lived in, was there a state support organization that you engaged in? Because obviously that's who we are.
Yes, every place we went, I tell people, hey, I'm here. When I got to Colorado, I let Czech know, said, hey, I'm here because I worked in all the other states and I go to the National Home Education Leadership Conference. And because now I'm on the Global Home Education Exchange, I get an invitation every year. So when I was first in Colorado and I showed up at the conference, I think Steve Gregg was like, hey, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm here for the Global Home Education Exchange, but I just want to let every state I go to, so it was Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, South Dakota, because we were back there again, Idaho, I might be missing something. Virginia, Washington, D.C. I always let the people know. But we normally will tell state leaders, hey, we're
Yeah.
here state, because we're very active and we don't want them to think, oh, we're going to do something. We just want them to know, hey, we're here and we're still active in homeschool, maybe in different realms. So it's been fun to be in different
Well, and
places.
it's a similar ministry, like you're running in the same fields and race. So
Yeah.
as a military family, how this is something that I particularly do as an outreach director is try to engage with the military bases here in Colorado because we have a lot of military here. And I'm often surprised that they don't, like, they may have lived here for 3 years and don't know anything about Czech and have homeschooled the whole time. And I find that very interesting. So, what would you say? How does being connected with the state support organization, besides the conference, you mentioned that at every state, obviously, usually the state support org runs those conferences. What is another benefit that you've seen as a homeschool family connected with the organizations around the nation?
Number one, they can explain the state law in terms that you can understand, because I think everybody ought to know the law for the state where they live and really understand it and know what their rights are. But sometimes you read the law and you're like, man, I don't get this. Or you skim right over something thinking, oh, yeah, I get that, when you really don't understand the intricacies of it. So I think that's the first thing that the state organization can do is really explain the law to you. And like in Colorado, we've got 3 ways to homeschool, and Czech has their umbrella school. There's that option, as well as if you're a certified teacher in the state of Colorado or just file a notice of intent. So I think the law is the number one thing. And also most states, and I know Colorado is true of this as well, can connect you with local groups where you are, ones that are on the state support group. They can get you connected. Sometimes it's co-ops, support groups. Sometimes it might be classical conversations. Whatever organization is linked to the state group, they can get you connected. I think with the military, the issue there is that they know they're going to be there a short time, and there's lots of stuff on the base they can do. The base gives them basic information. Normally, I worked on a lot with the military to get basic information packets on the bases. Heidi St. John years ago, uh, maybe 15, 20 years ago, she and I spoke on the phone, and I was working on that and she was working on that to have an inroad from the military to get packets. So when they get to a place, if they say, yes, I'm homeschooling, they'll hand them that packet. Or I'm interested in Christian schools, or I'm interested in the public schools, what's available. So that information gets right into their hands. So that sometimes they get information from the base and they get plugged in locally. They don't really feel like they need the state group. It might be far from them, whereas they want to get in locally. And military, just to say, military are great volunteers. If you can get a military person or family in your group, they're going to commit. I have a guy who's leaving to go to Germany here. He's been in the sports league, the Colorado Springs Homeschool Sports League. He coaches for us. He does track and field. He does soccer, flag football. He's a great coach. And the whole time he's been here, a whole 3 years, he has coached for us, and he's getting ready to leave, and we're going to miss him. So the military families normally get plugged in to their local groups.
They do. They don't. I'm a military child. It actually is the reason why I homeschooled, because we moved so much. And I just remember, and I have an unusual name. So maybe the first day of school was more traumatic for me. But I remember the first day of school and, moving in the middle of the school year and all of that so many times. Kashia, Kasha, Keisha, they could never get my name. But more than that, I just didn't ever feel like it was stable. And I remember reading the same book more than once, that kind of thing. So because it overlapped, or missing key things in math, silly things. But anyways, it was the reason why I homeschooled, because my husband and I, in our first 5 years of marriage, though he was not military, we lived in 6 states. So I was like, good night. I know where this is going. So we decided to homeschool. And ironically, we only moved one more time. Isn't that funny? So the reason you start is not necessarily the reason you continue. But I fell in love with homeschooling as soon as I started. It started for one reason and totally morphed and changed. So I love that. But since we're talking, or really trying to talk about the freedom fight and the things that are going on in Colorado, what are some of the things that drive you, and what do you think is important? Because that is one thing, you didn't set. I'm trying to tee you up for that the state orgs do, is we really fight that political battle. Like we're watching the laws and we're lobbying and we're down at the Capitol organizing those events. So how have you been watching what's happening in Colorado, and what do you think the significance is for homeschoolers today?
Well, I met Carolyn Martin, and I really supported what she did and tried to pray when she asked for prayer. And then I'd send her emails. Colleen Enos, I haven't met her yet, but it looks like she's following in Carolyn's footsteps and did a good job this legislative session. I think trying to get people motivated to know who their legislators are so that if they see them, they can walk up and have an exchange. So I really think getting eyes on your legislator, writing to them, even if they write back and tell you, I know what's best for you, which is what I get a lot, but to actually put eyes on, because you're going to have more influence. Just like I talked about in South Dakota, was meeting the state Department of Education, meeting him. And he was the superintendent. He ran the whole state. He actually came to our house and stayed with us. We actually gave him podium time at the state conference to address the homeschoolers so that he had eyes on. But building those bridges, because if you get those bridges built, you have more influence than if you just show up at the Capitol for a rally or something. Your one-on-one time that you develop with those legislators is huge, way more than just, okay, sign your name to this long list of other people signing their name. You building that bridge, taking that time, one day out of 365 days, you make an appointment and go see your legislator. He gets eyes on you, you get eyes on him, and take all your kids. If your husband can take off work, take him. I mean, go up and really learn how the legislative system works. But I think doing that is sometimes more beneficial than, oh, let's all get together and put your name on this or sign up for that or I'll be here for this, to actually develop relationships. Bruce and I call it building bridges with those people. Like I said, in South Dakota, they said, okay, fine, you don't have to ever do another home visit because we've met you. It's like, what difference does that make? But it makes a huge difference because while they have relationship with you, and when they think about homeschooling, what pops into their mind? Your picture.
Your face. Yeah,
You
exactly.
know the face of homeschooling.
Yeah, we do in February, I don't know if it's every February, but generally January, February after the session has started, we do a Meet Your Legislator Day. And it's not really a rally. We don't have, it's not like the day at the Capitol. The whole purpose of that is for you to come as a homeschool family. We provide a little gift that you can take, snacks or cookies or something, to schedule to meet them. And it's exactly that. Because we say it's really kind of the homeschool model. Relationships matter. Relationships with your neighbors, with your family, with your leaders. And that's a good word. I think that's one thing that I would love to see more people do, is just engage in a simple thing. Because a lot of times I think it's intimidating. Like doesn't sound like you were intimidated at all. You're like, come on, let me take on South Dakota.
I was scared.
Were you?
I was shaking. Oh, every time. And I still get like that. My heart beats. I'm like, oh, but I know it's something I need to do. And if I don't do it, I'm like, who is going to do it? I'm just going to launch and do this and mess it up, or maybe go in the right direction. And yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, actually, because hearing your story, you just sound fearless, and it seems like, I don't know, it's a little intimidating.
My children tell me that I'm scary. Sometimes you go, Mom, you're going to scare them. Don't do that. But sometimes I think just the boldness to go ahead and do it, even when you're scared, you just step out and do it anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So do you have any closing encouragements that you would give in that front? Like, homeschooling is free right now, and I think it's really easy for homeschool families to feel like, well, it's good. We're happy. We can do whatever we want. There's no fears. But then you look at Illinois. I don't know if you've been following what happened in the state of Illinois, which was like, wow, to go from one of the most free homeschool states to suddenly one of the most regulated homeschool states overnight. Was pretty traumatic. So do you have any closing thoughts on that?
One of the adages at our house is one person can make a difference. And so I know my family, I was like, well, I could be that person. I could be that person. So stepping out and doing something, whether it's meeting your legislators or many times when we moved, people would tell us, don't say that you're homeschooling. And my husband would walk in with the commander, and right off the bat, he'd say, we're homeschooling. We teach our kids at home. And at that time, the military did not let dads or the active duty military member, if it was a mom, they couldn't take time off to go on a field trip or go to a school program. But that's changed in the military now. So even homeschoolers fall under that. So if you have a field trip or something and you want to accompany your family, the active duty parent is now allowed to take that time without taking active duty leave and going to. So that's huge. But that took people like me stepping out saying, hey, this isn't really fair across the board. And, we need to have all the parents involved, moms and dads. So sometimes if you feel really convicted about something, just to step out and do it. Every time we move, I tell everybody we're homeschooling. And I just say, we're homeschoolers, we're homeschooling. Because so many people are like, oh, I can't tell my mother-in-law. Oh, my father is just not happy about this. They're all teachers. But just tell everybody you're homeschooling. And after you say it and do it for a while and you follow it, you're like, oh, it's a lot easier to say this. And in this culture and climate today, homeschooling is more widely accepted. I don't think it's as scary. Although still, every week, there's a question on the Homeschooling Colorado page. I just don't want to tell anybody. How do I tell them I'm homeschooling? Well, you just tell them. And you walk boldly. You say, this is the decision we've made, and we're very happy. We're content. And you just go on and you don't defend yourself. You don't have to start a fight. That's something that is interesting. Living overseas, other cultures can talk about religion and politics without fighting. And it's something that my children all do well. I have 2 of my 5 actually live and work overseas. And they have learned how to do this growing up in these different cultures. So it's something. We were on a field trip in Egypt, and the people were coming up. Do you know the president? And they actually had met the president at the time, and they'd sat with him in a picture. And so they're like, yes, we know the president. And they're like, whoa. So then they're talking about their president, which was Mubarak in Egypt at that time. And so they were amazed that my children knew these things and could discuss that with them, because Americans aren't normally like that. We shy away from politics and religion in talking about those things. So just learn to be bold so that when it comes to something that's super important, you've already practiced. I homeschool, or whatever it is that you're afraid to tell somebody, just be bold and just state it. You're not having a fight. You're not having an argument. You're having a discussion, and this is who you are. You just present.
I love it. Well, Barb, you've been a delight. Thank you so much for being here. We are doing this with all of our homeschool guests. We're asking them if you could share one gold nugget that you feel like was the best advice that you received as a homeschool family. Mm-hmm. Can you think? You've already shared some really good nuggets, I think, but
don't sweat the small stuff, and it is all small stuff.
There's a book by that name, I think.
Really?
I think there is. Yeah, it is so true. Oh, that's good. And the time that we have with our kids is fleeting. Yeah. I mean, even 30 years of homeschooling was probably not enough, right?
No. But you need to make your home a place where they all want to come back to after you've launched them, after they've gotten their wings and flown away. You still want them to come back. Yeah. And you need to make your home a place where they want to do that.
Yeah. They do. We do. Well, thank you, Barb. This was awesome. This is airing in July, which is our Homeschool Freedom Month, where we're really just highlighting how important it is to have people like you who bravely fought and are willing to stand with courage and conviction. So thank you. I appreciate what you did for the homeschool movement, and we most definitely have to have you again on a different topic. Maybe we'll talk all about your homeschool method and the way you did it. So.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today. The Colorado Homeschool Podcast is a ministry of Christian home educators of Colorado. We have been motivating parents to disciple the next generation by embracing home discipleship that is Christ-centered, parent-directed, and free from government control. We invite you to join us in this mission. If you want to support homeschooling in Colorado, go to check.org/donate. In the meantime, share this with your friends and make sure you subscribe. That really helps us. Thank you.
Brought to you by thepodcastupload.com, empowering faith-driven voices.